Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 335 and you'll want to subscribe right now and ensure you'll never miss a journey. The entrepreneurs that join me each week review the steps they took on their journey to success, and these steps revealed a path you can take as well. Today we have Emily McGuire, the owner and principal at Flourish and Grit, an email marketing and automation studio. She helps businesses uncover hidden revenue in their email lists by pairing customers' journeys with high-converting email campaigns. Hello, Emily.
Hi, happy to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming. My audience is so excited to hear your story, but start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today that will help us on our journey to success.
Well, if you're using email marketing in your strategy, then I can definitely give some tips on how you can leverage it to its full advantage.
I can't wait to hear more about that. But let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own business?
So I started as a digital marketing generalist. I wanted to do social media. I feel like that's how a lot of people get into marketing, is they're like, oh, I use social media. I can do this professionally. So that's where I started. And then the company I was working for at the time, they were like, well, we need somebody to do email. You do internet. You can do this too, right? And I was like, sure, why not? I like internet. Let's do this email thing. So I started getting into it and learned that that was the channel I really enjoy doing the most over social media, and eventually got a job doing just email. And when my husband and I moved back, I was living in North Carolina in the US at the time. And when I got pregnant, it was time to move back to Michigan to be near family. And when I was looking around for jobs, I couldn't find one that looked like the next best job. And I didn't want to take just any job because I'd been there, done that. And I wanted to find the best job. So I couldn't find one. So I was like, you know what? I'll just make my own. Just create my own job, which is what I have done. And I think I approached it with the right amount of naivety about what it meant to run a business. I was like, well, I do my job really well. So that's all I need to know, right? Which is not the case. So since then I've worked with clients across so many different industries and gotten to learn about them. And over the course of my career, I've worked on email campaigns that have generated millions of dollars in revenue, tested everything under the sun, and have literally launched thousands of email campaigns. So if there is a mistake to be made in email marketing or in business, I've made it. And so I love sharing with people what mistakes I've made and how to avoid them themselves.
What a background, Emily. You mentioned that you wanted to find a job, you couldn't find any, and you created your own. But why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Yeah, so I found that there are a lot of ways. So I used to want to, I had originally planned on getting involved in nonprofits and making a positive impact on the world. And what I've found since then is that there are a lot of ways to make a positive impact in the world. Some of them aren't as, sexy as others. And for me, I love the world of email. It really checks all the boxes for me in terms of creativity and being analytical and really getting to focus on building relationships and really thinking about people as more than just a number, right? Like we can look at their behavior and say, well, they're clearly interested based on these interactions they've had with us. So I've firsthand seen the power of that, how much it can do for a business revenue wise. I've made it my mission to use email to work with businesses who are making a positive impact so I can lend my skill sets to them. So, my hope is to live in a world that is kinder and more empathetic. And I know that there's a lot of work to do there. So if I can be part of that in any way, I'm happy to do it.
Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
Ooh, how do I know I'm successful? That's a good question. Well, I don't all the time. There's a lot of self-doubt. I compare entrepreneurship to being a parent. I feel like it's a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. And so it's hard to ride those waves without letting yourself get swept into them. So I know I'm successful by, just talking to my clients really, and about, the impact my work has made for their business and allowing them to focus on their strengths, by taking this particular thing off of their plate, right? Because if we keep trying to stretch ourselves too thin, we dilute the impact of our work. And so, really just getting feedback from my clients about how much I've, again, been able to make this process easier for them, and, specifically setting measurable goals with them and achieving them. That's when I feel successful in relation to client work. But it's always a constant pep talk I have to give myself to feel like I'm doing or I'm heading in the right direction and I'm giving people the best of what I have to offer.
Tell us the challenges you have found in email marketing as a CEO.
Challenges, like anything, having a specific expertise in anything means that the nuances of that world. And when people, as people are trying to figure out what it is I do, they often have surface level information about how email marketing works. So for example, a lot of people have misconceptions about email. They think it's, the best tool to use for cold outreach, which it can be, but you have to be very, very strategic with it. So that's one area. The other is newsletters. I guess the biggest challenge is busting myths about email. So newsletters that's what most people think about as email. And newsletters come from an era when people were mailing newsletters. And so people think that directly correlates or translates into a digital marketing channel, and it doesn't. Like, people are not reading 10 million links, right? That's not what they want. They need help focusing on their digital content, and that means giving them really streamlined, simple things to focus on in an email, not 10 million links. So usually there's a lot of unlearning to do with the people I work with about how email works or should work, before we can get into the really high impact stuff.
Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day it suddenly all went right for you.
The day suddenly things all went well for me? Oh boy. Well, I think those have been tiny micro moments for me when, I'm still in this. So I'm in year 3 of my business, and I'm still setting a solid foundation for myself. But I think what's really magic for me, or when I really notice a magic moment for myself, is when things don't feel as scary. when I start to do something, like, for example, I'm on a podcast interview with you right now, and I've done, dozens of podcast interviews at this point. But the first ones were so nerve wracking. And I was so anxious about the way people would perceive me or think about what I said. And, it's just, as I kept doing interviews like this, it's not a big deal anymore. It's just having a conversation. I think, podcast interviews, sales conversations, those don't feel as icky, or not icky, but stress inducing, right? I don't get as nervous anymore. And so I think it's those magic moments where I'm like, oh, I'm not scared to death right now, where you feel like, I've made progress. I am doing things. I am working on things. So I would say it's little micro moments where you realize I'm not scared out of my mind. And like, oh, I've figured one thing out. If I can figure this thing out, I can figure the next thing out.
Thank you for sharing. As you mentioned, you've been in business for a while now. I think you have met many people also want to go into businesses because now no longer 9-to-5 jobs are there. But can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
I think, when I started this journey, I never would have thought of I didn't think of myself as an entrepreneur. I thought of myself as, and this was the issue I sort of ran up against early on, was I thought of myself as a contract employee, and that it's still that employee mindset. And it's taken a lot of work, a lot of mindset and mental work, and spiritual work too, to, unpack what makes me so anxious about doing this, right? Because it's so uncomfortable. It's so outside of my comfort zone that you have to battle that all the time. And so I think you need a certain level of mental and emotional resilience. Not that mine is perfect, right? It's a muscle I keep working. So I guess at the end of the day, I think anybody can be an entrepreneur, but you have to be ready to tackle some of your biggest mental blocks, and you have to be open to that. And if you're not, you're going to just build a business that doesn't feel good, where you're just repeating the same old patterns over and over again, without stretching yourself to actually build a life you want to live.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
Business as a whole. Well, I've learned, as I've had to become my own salesperson, right? As I've learned to step into being a CEO. I think that the biggest things I've learned are, how to take risk, how to take on risk, because that is a huge part of this, right? I mean, inherently, but when you're ready to start growing, you have to move beyond yourself, and hiring or getting some sort of supplemental help is, again, a whole other skill set to learn. But I think it's part of just getting out of my own way. So I think business has taught me that we have to get out of our own ways. I'm not unique. I've had several experiences working for an employer where I ran into that with managers and leadership. And so now I sort of understand, like, culturally, any company is built on the culture that leadership sets. And I need to, if I want to work in a business that's mine, obviously, I have to be able to look at my mindset and my mental blocks and how I'm getting help in my business, if it's the right help, and adjust accordingly. And sometimes that means letting people go. And again, a different skill set you have to learn.
Tell us the secrets to creating a profitable email marketing company.
Yeah. So a profitable email marketing company, I mean, that means, I mean, and it's true for an email marketing strategy. It's like you have to streamline. You have to be as efficient as possible. And for me, that means using tools, investing in tools that will allow myself and my team to run really efficiently, automate as much as possible, which is, obviously what I do as an email marketing service provider as well. So we automate as much as possible. We streamline and make things as efficient as possible. And really the thing that, in the marketing world, people find the most fascinating when I talk to them about, and I'm going to give your listeners the top secret on how to make your email marketing program and your marketing and your business more profitable and efficient, which is recycling content. This is something that I see people think they have to do all the time. Like they have to create new content every time they want to send a campaign out, and you don't. People are not paying that close of attention to your content. They're not looking at it. They're not as intimate with it as you are. And so literally copying and pasting or resending an email campaign or a social media post, lightens your load, and exponentially. So looking at how you can repurpose and template things in an email marketing program, in any of your marketing, so that you can streamline your production process is one of the biggest things that people have their mind blown about when I talk to them about it. But that's just how I work. I'm like, how can we get the most mileage out of anything? And when it comes to marketing content, it's no different.
What are you still doing in the way you work that you just know you have to stop doing?
Oof. Ouch. A lot. Mainly just busy work, and I'm getting much better at offloading admin tasks onto my team. Things that sound like really, I just don't want to do. It's like pulling teeth for me to do it. If that is a struggle with me, like, why am I battling doing my bookkeeping? Outsource it. And it's funny because I was just talking to another entrepreneur yesterday who he loves bookkeeping. And when I told him I outsource it, and he was like, why? What do you need to outsource it for? I'm like, because I hate it. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I like doing it. And I was like, well, great. Keep doing it then. But the things that zap my energy like that, I have to offload them, or they're not going to get done, and they're just going to pile up, and it's going to be that mental baggage that's hanging over me, thinking like, why don't you do that? You have to do that. It's on your to-do list. So it's just things like that I'm slowly letting go of and asking for help on, and letting other people take care of it without me feeling like I have to micromanage it. And nobody likes to work like that. I didn't like to work like that. So, it's a learning process in that regards too.
What is the most dangerous belief an entrepreneur can have?
For me, I think one belief that I've really had to let go of or worked on is that I know what people want to pay. I don't think people want to pay my prices. And it's so weird how like that story can spiral out and affect everything I do in terms of my sales process. So I think in terms of pricing, that's a big one. Especially women entrepreneurs. I find that I'm not alone in that crowd. So what I've learned as I've, tried to figure out my pricing strategy is that in some sectors, right, in some areas, in the places I want to do business, they're not going to take me seriously because my prices are too low. So I've already excluded myself from their consideration because I'm not charging enough, which has blown my mind. And so I think really it's thinking that I know what the truth is about how my ideal customers think and behave with a limited understanding of it. And I think that's the most dangerous belief for anybody is being so sure that what I believe is true without validating that that story.
How do you make yourself get back on track when something goes wrong?
I think, I have a good support system. So right now I have a really great team that we are really able to bounce ideas off of each other. And, so we talk through things, when we are making a mistake, or when a mistake has been made where things haven't gone according to plan. But ultimately, I rest on the fact that I am a human being where I just have to accept that part of living is things going wrong. Things are not going to go my way all the time. They haven't. But that doesn't mean it's a moral failing on my part. My instinct is to immediately blame myself and think that I have to fix it. But that's not always the case. Yes, I have responsibility in everything I do, but sometimes it's beyond my control. And so I think leaning into that, and really having, again, a good support system where I can talk to people and ask them, am I blaming myself too much? Is this really my fault? Has been really helpful in letting go of that. Essentially shame of things not going as easily as possible.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
I think learning how to, this seems like a big theme coming up today, but learning how to ask for help. It's very uncomfortable for me. It's very hard to do, but, we can't do this on our own. As much as we would like to think that we're superhero one-person shops, we're only one human being who can only do so much. And, our strength, we don't have all of the strengths, unfortunately, but we can find others who can supplement us in really helpful ways that make us look better, perform better, and not totally burn out. And so having that support, I don't think I would have made it this far without it.
What grounds you?
I have I do have a business coach who is there for me when I'm really having, one of those days where everything's going wrong and you just can't get out of your head. Right. So definitely business coach, and she's been where I've been, so she knows. And I think that's really the biggest thing is talking to people who've been there and can really, they know they've made the same mistakes. They've had the same feelings and thought that they were also a failure at some point too, right? But they've gotten through it. And so I think that, my business coach has been a big help. And I also have a small group of other entrepreneur friends who, we talk monthly about, our struggles and how we're feeling about our businesses. And they've been incredible to just, center myself around okay, I'm not alone. I'm not unique to making this mistake. Everybody's done it.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
I'm currently learning how to play a mandolin guitar. I haven't really told anybody that one. But I taught myself how to play piano as a kid, and, I've fiddled with other instruments. But for my birthday this year, I decided I wanted to try the mandolin. So I'm taking virtual lessons.
If you could rerun the first year of your business, what would you definitely not do?
Work for free. Please don't work for free. Anybody. I had so little understanding of the value of what I do because it's just so second nature to me that it's oh, I can do that. No problem. And there were people I wanted to help, but so I would always drop my rates or work for free if they couldn't afford me, because I thought that, they're asking for my help, so I have to help them. And what I know now is, a dangerous, or not a dangerous, but, a relationship pattern that I've had that manifested itself in that way. And it's, if somebody asks for me to help, I have to help them at all costs, even if it comes at my expense. And that's not a sustainable, efficient, or profitable way of living a life I shouldn't say that. Sometimes there are people who need your help and it's okay to give them that help. But when it comes to a business, there are ways of building that. Definitely not the first way to start off that first year.
Let's talk about your business. Tell us more about it and who can join this.
So my business's name is, it's called Flourish and Gray. We're an email marketing and automation studio where we focus on customer journey. And, our services, we provide audits. That's my signature offer is an audit and strategy for email marketing programs. So digging into the back end to make sure that everything is set up correctly. And so you can send out really high converting campaigns. And then what campaigns do you send out? So that's my signature offer. And then we also do email marketing implementation, all those fun things, writing, design, operations. And we work with clients of all kinds, e-commerce, tech, SaaS. I do work with consultants and solopreneurs on smaller projects. And I also have a really great action guide. Most people ask me about their open rates. What's a great open rate? And so I have a free action guide if your audience is interested in learning how to boost their open rates. It's called Revolutionize Your Email Open Rates, and it's at flourishgrit.com/open. Ooh, both. I like to read fiction. I like to listen to nonfiction audiobooks. I realize for some reason reading nonfiction is not my thing, but I'm also really big into TV. I'm a big TV watcher.
Thank you. There will be more from Emily in a moment. If you are listening to this on a podcasting platform and you are encouraged by Emily's journey, please go to our website at onlinesuccessjourney.com. In addition to the amazing free content, you can work direct with me. Check out my course, How to Set Goals and Double Your Productivity, a course for achieving success in work and life when you visit onlinesuccessjourney.com. The site has tons of audio clips from hundreds of successful entrepreneurs' guests' journeys, all there to help you find a path to your own online success journey. The site offers exclusive members-only content, and you can join absolutely free and be part of this amazing online success community today. Check it out. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com. Now, Emily, I would love for you to share more with my audience if you're up for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you watch movies or read books?
Well, right now, during the winter, I'm definitely more of a TV watcher.
Tell us, what is your favorite movie that has some relevance to being an entrepreneur?
Well, my favorite movie of all time is Finding Nemo. I love that movie. And I think, the Dory's philosophy of just keep swimming is relevant to all things, all parts of life, including entrepreneurship. I think, it gets really hard and I wanted to quit so many times. But if you just keep going and putting one foot in front of the other, things change, right? Things change all the time. So just having faith that it'll get better, I think has helped a lot.
What would you recommend for listeners looking to start their own businesses?
I would recommend finding other entrepreneurs to talk to immediately, because when you're doing it by yourself, it's always a guessing game. It feels like. And so you're stuck making a million decisions on your own, and that decision fatigue is real. It gets exhausting so quickly. So I'd say find your group, find other entrepreneurs who are in the same boat who you can get feedback from.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
I'd have to keep all my systems in place. I have so many tech systems in place that help automate so many parts of my business. I would for sure just keep that investment, because it keeps so many parts of my business going.
If you are going to keep a note to yourself in your pocket every day, what would be written on it?
I have 2 post-it notes on my monitor right now. One is can does not equal should. So just because I can do it doesn't mean I should do it. That's one mantra I have to tell myself all the time, because it's like, oh, I can do it. I'll just do it. And it's like, no, you don't need, just because you can doesn't mean you are the one who should be doing it, which leads to all kinds of problems. And then the other post-it note, which is very much related, it says, have Karen do it. Karen is my ops manager. And so I have to have a reminder all the time to delegate. And it's hard because, you're just in the flow doing your stuff and you're so used to like, okay, got to get it done. And to make myself stop and say, okay, I don't need to do this and Karen can do it. Literally, I need those reminders constantly.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you're only on the way?
I still feel like I'm on the way. I don't know what exactly like success would feel like, or what it would feel like to say, okay, I have made it. But I still feel like I'm on the way.
Would you ever stop?
Would I ever stop? I think things would have to get really bad. I'm never going to say never because, life happens, right? Things pop up that you're not expecting. But I think, I would like to know that I have tried everything first before I stop.
Remind us how we can connect with you.
Yeah. So so I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. So if you want to hang out on LinkedIn with me, come find me over there. And you can also download my free action guide, Revolutionize Your Email Open Rates at flourishgrit.com.
Emily, it's been great to have you here to share your online success journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Remember, the success is a journey. Don't wait. Let's start the journey. Patience and Emily.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest and want you to know there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast, and they're only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite platform to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at iTunes and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share your journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out her course on clarity while you're at the website. Finding clarity is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.